Let me just stop right there. All right, I want to bring Paul Watson up on air with breaking news. It's official. Embassy attack threat had no basis in fact. Terror plot manufactured to dampen opposition to drone strikes. Now, I know I told you this over and over again the last 2 weeks. And even the New York Times had to admit, well, we've talked to senior analysts that say this is for political purposes. But this is specifically high-ranking Yemeni security official saying the West told him it was not real and was for political purposes. And that's even in McClatchy. And then, of course, we had them saying there will be a terror attack in Austin in the next, starting last week through the next 2 weeks. We broke that. They confirmed the document was real. But what we said beforehand turned out to be true. But it was a fake terror alert. A real alert they put out, but the alert itself was fake. Again, we broke it, told you exactly what it was. I'm not bragging. So what do we get? We get attacked. Just remember, folks, we're going up the hill here against the enemy in placements. We need your support. This is not a game. I've got their entire playbook. It isn't hard to know. They think you're so stupid they've bragged about it publicly. But we're the ones willing to say it out in the open. All right? So, and we need you to spread this information out to everybody. I salute McClatchy breaking this. I salute Watson giving a wide spectrum analysis of it at Infowars.com, and I salute DrudgeReport.com for carrying the story as well. It'll now be a national news story. Let's go to Paul Joseph Watson for the next 2 segments to break this down. Paul, there's a long history of this, but it's becoming so naked, people aren't buying into it anymore.
Well, exactly, Alex. I mean, under the Bush administration, Tom Ridge basically came out and admitted that most of the major terror alerts were faked for political purposes. Of course, 10 days ago, we had the announcement that they were closing 20 embassies and consulates in the Middle East and North Africa because of, quote, the most serious threat against American and other Western interests since 9/11. Then people like Lindsey Graham went on the Sunday shows and said, quote, the NSA program is proving its worth yet again, along with Representative Ruppersberger, who said the good news is that we picked up the intelligence and that's what we do. That's what the NSA does. Because, of course, they used this embassy closure threat, this supposed attack that was primarily centered on Yemen, as a reason to justify the NSA snooping, because they've been losing the debate on that for weeks. So they immediately came out and said, this is the threat Al-Qaeda is going to attack, even though we're actually arming Al-Qaeda in Syria, which came out, of course, out of the Benghazi attack. But this justifies the NSA what it has to do, because we've intercepted this conference call between the top Al-Qaeda members, and it said they were going to attack. So the NSA is good. It's saving your lives. Well, of course, at the time we said this was completely fake, based on history, based on motive. Came out today, as he said, in McClatchy, a top Yemeni security official said that the whole plot had no basis in fact, and he was completely bemused. He attributed it to a single official, a Yemeni official's comments about imminent terror strikes. Basically, he said the agenda, and it was one of the 3 that I've identified, is, quote, misguided attempt at shifting public opinion in the face of increasing and unpopular American drone strikes. Because if you recall, this terror alert threat coincided with the US bombing Yemen, 8 drone strikes over the past 2 weeks, dozens of people killed, which also coincides with this group which was actually set up with the aid of the US government when Yemen had its faux Arab Spring, who met on August 2nd, or the day before, which was the day before this terror alert was announced. And they decided, and this is the National Dialogue Conference Group in Yemen, which is a civil society organization that's building up a lot of power. They voted to criminalize drone strikes in Yemen. So then we had the sudden invention of this major threat, primarily targeting Yemen. And then, of course, we had the drone strikes. So we had the drone strikes that they needed to justify, the NSA surveillance program they needed to justify. And, of course, this also coincided on the same day, August 2nd, with CNN's announcement. Of course, we'd reported it months before, that a CIA team was smuggling arms out of Benghazi in an annex to the consulate that was attacked last September to send them to rebels and Al-Qaeda terrorists in Syria. That came out August 2nd. It was immediately followed with this now apparently fake terror alert And this Benghazi scandal about smuggling the weapons to Al-Qaeda, nobody's heard anything about it. It's been completely buried. So on 3 different scores, very convenient that they had this terror alert. It served to justify, it served to distract from all these different issues.
Excellent breakdown, Watson. I want to shift gears into the NSA here briefly and play some of the disgusting clips of Obama making the rounds on the campaign trail for his agenda, still campaigning, making light and jokes of the greatest surveillance grid the world's ever seen that is completely illegal on record. Here he is comparing it to washing the dishes.
How do I make the American people more comfortable? All right. If I tell Michelle that
he's going to use Astroglide.
Now, granted, in the White House, I don't do the dishes that much, but back in the day, and she's a little skeptical. Well, I'd like her to trust me, but maybe I need to bring her back and show her the dishes.
So he likens raping our liberties to washing the dishes. And he wants to make you comfortable. So I guess he wants to put us to sleep before he drinks our blood, like Count Dracula. Let's go to one more of the clips as we go to break. This is Obama. He'd say he'd be worried about it if he wasn't in the government. So trust me. Famous last words. Here it is.
Having said that, though, if you are outside of the intelligence community, if you are the ordinary person and you start seeing a bunch of headlines saying, U.S., Big Brother, looking down on you, collecting telephone records, etc., well, understandably, people would be concerned. I would be, too, if I wasn't inside the government.
And again, that was from the White House press room. He's also been on the trail making similar statements. We got more clips of that. But, I mean, this is famous last words. You know, just trust me. Yeah, you've lied to us on every front and stabbed us in the back. So let's believe you now. We'll be back with Watson's Take.